August 30th, 1997, 11:30 p.m. Ritz Hotel, Paris. Princess Diana and Dodi Fayed tried to leave through the front entrance. Within seconds, they were surrounded by 30 photographers, shouting, pushing, cameras flashing like strobe lights. Diana's face showed panic, terror. This was the nightmare she had lived with for 16 years, being hunted, chased, treated like prey. Less than 3 hours later, Diana would be dead, killed in a tunnel while being pursued by photographers on motorcycles. But what was truly shocking wasn't that the paparazzi were chasing her that night. It was that everyone had known this would happen. Eventually. Inevitably. It was just a matter of time. To understand Diana's relationship with the paparazzi, you need to go back to the beginning. July 1981, Diana Spencer, age 19, had just gotten engaged to Prince Charles. Overnight, she became the most photographed woman in the world. Photographers camped outside her apartment, followed her to work at the kindergarten where she taught, chased her car through London's streets. Diana was terrified, confused. She had never experienced anything like this before. No one had prepared her for the feeding frenzy. The palace told Diana this was normal. This is what happens when you become a princess. You'll get used to it. But Diana never got used to it. Every camera felt like an invasion, every flash like an assault, every photographer like a predator. Diana was naturally shy, private. The constant attention made her feel like an animal in a zoo. Watched, studied, never allowed a moment of peace. And it only got worse after the wedding. The early years of Diana's marriage were a photographer's paradise. The beautiful young princess, always perfectly dressed, always photogenic. Every photo could sell for thousands. The more intimate the shot, the more it was worth. Diana breastfeeding, Diana crying, Diana arguing with Charles. These were the money shots, and photographers would do anything to get them. They used long lenses, climbed trees, hid in bushes, bribed palace staff for information about Diana's schedule. There was no privacy, no sanctuary. Diana was fair game 24 hours a day. Diana tried to fight back. She complained to the palace. They did nothing. She confronted photographers directly. They just took more photos. She tried disguises, baseball caps, sunglasses, different cars. The photographers always found her. They had networks. Spotters who would call when Diana left Kensington Palace. Motorcycle riders who would follow her car. It was coordinated, professional, relentless. Diana felt like she was being stalked, because she was. The birth of William in 1982 made everything worse. Now the photographers weren't just after Diana. They wanted baby photos, the first photos of the heir. These could sell for hundreds of thousands, maybe millions. Photographers became more aggressive, more willing to cross boundaries. They would climb walls around Kensington Palace, use telephoto lenses to shoot into windows. Diana would be playing with William in what she thought was a private garden and discover photos in the newspaper the next day. She felt violated, unsafe in her own home. One incident crystallized Diana's hatred of the paparazzi. She was on vacation in the Caribbean with Charles and William. It was supposed to be private, relaxing, but photographers found them. They used boats to get close to the beach, used long lenses to capture Diana in her bikini. One photo showed Diana, heavily pregnant with Harry, changing into a bikini. She hadn't known anyone could see her. The photo was humiliating, invasive. Diana cried for hours, "This is torture. I can't escape them." Charles, as always, was unsympathetic. "This is the price of your position. Deal with it." But Diana couldn't deal with it. The constant surveillance was destroying her mental health. She couldn't go anywhere without being followed, couldn't do anything without being photographed, couldn't have a private moment with her children without it appearing in newspapers. The bulimia got worse, the depression deepened, the panic attacks increased. Diana felt like she was drowning, and the photographers were holding her underwater, smiling while they did it. The palace, which could have helped, did nothing. In fact, they used the media attention when it benefited them. They arranged photo calls where Diana had to pose with her children. They leaked information about Diana's schedule to favored photographers. They traded access for positive coverage. Diana was expected to cooperate, to smile, to perform. But when she wanted privacy, when she needed protection, the palace claimed they were powerless. You're a public figure. This comes with the territory. The marriage breakdown made the paparazzi situation exponentially worse. Now Diana wasn't just a princess, she was a scandal. Every photo could tell a story. Is she crying? Is she with another man? Is she fighting with Charles? The market for Diana photos became insatiable. Publications around the world wanted them. Tabloids, magazines, newspapers. They couldn't print enough Diana photos, and photographers competed viciously for the shots, following closer, taking more risks, pushing boundaries further and further. Diana tried different strategies. Sometimes she cooperated, posed for official photos in exchange for being left alone. But the paparazzi didn't honor these agreements. They took the official photos, then followed her anyway. Sometimes Diana hid, stayed inside, avoided going out. But this made her feel like a prisoner, and the photographers just waited outside, for days, weeks, however long it took. Sometimes Diana confronted them, walked up to photographers and asked them to leave her alone. A few times she cried in front of them, "Please, I'm begging you. Just give me some space." Some photographers felt guilty, most just kept shooting. The worst incidents involved Diana's children. Photographers would follow William and Harry to school, wait outside, try to get photos of the young princes. Diana was furious, terrified. "Leave my children alone. If you want to photograph me, fine. But leave my boys out of this." She negotiated with newspaper editors, pleaded with them. A few agreed to restrict coverage of William and Harry. Most didn't. The photos were too valuable, too lucrative. Children of a disintegrating royal marriage? That was front-page gold. As Diana's marriage collapsed publicly, the paparazzi became more dangerous. They weren't just following her anymore. They were chasing her. Diana would leave an event, and 30 motorcycles would pursue her car through London. Her driver would try to lose them, racing through streets, running red lights, taking corners at dangerous speeds. It was terrifying. Diana would sit in the back seat crying, while photographers on motorcycles swarmed around the car, shooting through windows, cutting in front of the vehicle, creating situations that could easily cause an accident. Diana complained to police, to the palace, to anyone who would listen. "This is going to get someone killed, either me or one of them or an innocent bystander. Something needs to be done." But nothing was done. The Metropolitan Police said they couldn't control what happened on public streets. The palace said Diana's security was her own responsibility now that she was divorcing. Diana felt abandoned, set up to fail, or worse, set up to die. The divorce in 1996 removed Diana's official royal protection. She could hire private security, but they didn't have the same authority as palace security. Couldn't clear crowds, couldn't demand photographers back off. Diana's vulnerability increased dramatically, and the paparazzi knew it. They became more aggressive, more willing to push boundaries. Because what was Diana going to do? She had no official protection, no institutional backing. She was alone. The final year of Diana's life was the worst for paparazzi harassment. She was dating, traveling, living her life independently. Every moment was documented. Diana on a yacht with Dodi Fayed. Diana in a swimsuit. Diana kissing her boyfriend. These photos were worth fortunes. Publications would pay 6 figures for the right shot. Photographers were making millions from Diana's life, and they were willing to do anything to maintain that income stream. Diana tried to adapt. She learned to pose, to give photographers the shot they wanted so they would leave her alone. But it never worked. They always wanted more. One more photo, one better angle, one more intimate moment. Diana felt like she could never satisfy them, never give enough. They would consume her entirely if she let them. and in August 1997 they did. The vacation in the Mediterranean was supposed to be relaxing, Diana and Dodi on Mohammed Al Fayed's yacht, but photographers followed them everywhere, in speedboats, on jet skis, using helicopters. The famous photo of Diana in a leopard print swimsuit, taken from a boat with a telephoto lens. Diana was sunbathing on a supposedly private yacht, but there was no such thing as privacy for Diana. Not anymore. Not ever. By the time Diana arrived in Paris on August 30th, she was exhausted, emotionally drained. The constant surveillance had worn her down. She just wanted one peaceful evening, one dinner without cameras, one moment of normalcy. But that wasn't possible. The paparazzi knew Diana was in Paris. They knew she was staying at the Ritz. They knew she was with Dodi. And they were waiting. Dozens of them, ready for the money shot. The evening started badly. Diana and Dodi tried to go to a restaurant, but photographers mobbed them, made it impossible to leave the car. They retreated to the Ritz, had dinner there instead. But even inside the hotel, they weren't safe. Photographers were stationed at every exit, waiting, watching. Diana felt trapped. Diana, hunted. This is unbearable. We need to get away from them, Dodi agreed. They would use a decoy car, slip out the back, lose the paparazzi. It seemed like a clever plan. But the paparazzi weren't fooled. They saw through the decoy immediately. And when Diana's Mercedes left through the back entrance, 7 motorcycles with photographers gave chase through the streets of Paris at high speed. The driver, Henry Paul, was drunk and on medication, but he was also trying to escape the photographers, driving faster, taking risks. The photographers kept pace. This was the shot. Diana fleeing. Diana scared. This could be worth millions. They had to get it, no matter what. The Mercedes entered the Pont de l'Alma tunnel at approximately 65 miles per hour, too fast for the curve. Henri Paul lost control. The car hit a pillar, spun, crashed, the sound of metal tearing, glass shattering, and then silence. The photographers arrived seconds later, and instead of calling for help immediately, several of them started taking photos of the wreckage, of Diana slumped in the back seat, of the carnage. Even in death, even in her final moments, Diana couldn't escape the cameras. French police arrested several photographers at the scene, charged them with manslaughter. The argument was that their chase had caused the crash, that their pursuit had created the panic that led Henri Paul to drive recklessly. The photographers defended themselves. We were just doing our job. We weren't driving the car. We didn't make him drunk. We're not responsible. But the world disagreed. The world saw the paparazzi as killers, murderers who had literally chased Diana to death. The trial of the photographers was eventually dropped. Investigators concluded that Henri Paul's drunk driving was the primary cause of the crash, not the paparazzi chase. The photographers were released, no charges, no consequences. They went back to work, taking photos, following celebrities, treating human beings like products. Because that's what the industry rewarded. That's what publications paid for. And nothing had changed. But something had changed in public perception. Diana's death sparked a reckoning with paparazzi culture. Suddenly, people saw the cruelty, the inhumanity, the way photographers harassed, stalked, and endangered people for profit. There were calls for new laws, new regulations, protection for public figures. Some countries implemented changes. France strengthened privacy laws. California passed anti-paparazzi legislation. But enforcement was weak, and the financial incentives remained enormous. The publications that bought paparazzi photos faced backlash. They had created the market. They had paid photographers to chase Diana. They were complicit in her death. Some publications pledged to stop buying intrusive photos, to respect privacy. These pledges lasted weeks, maybe months. Then it was back to business as usual, because readers wanted the photos. bought the magazines, clicked on the websites. Demand drove supply. And the demand for celebrity photos never stopped. Diana's sons grew up watching their mother be hunted. They saw the toll it took, the fear, the anxiety, the feeling of never being safe, and they vowed it wouldn't happen again. William has been careful with Kate, controlled her exposure, limited photo opportunities, sued publications that crossed lines. Harry went further. He left Britain partially because of media harassment of Meghan. He explicitly connected the press treatment of his wife to what happened to his mother. History was repeating itself, and Harry refused to let it end the same way. In 2019, Harry sued British tabloids for phone hacking, for invasion of privacy, for the constant harassment that he said was destroying his family. In court documents he wrote, "I've seen what happens when someone I love is commoditized to the point that they're no longer treated or seen as a real person. I lost my mother to this self-manufactured rabidness. The comparison was clear. Harry believed the media would kill Meghan the way they killed Diana. He wasn't going to let that happen. The paparazzi themselves have largely avoided accountability. Some express regret. Say they wish things had been different, but most defend their actions. We were just photographers, just trying to make a living. Diana was newsworthy. People wanted to see photos of her. We were meeting demand. This defense ignores the human cost, the trauma, the fear, the way constant surveillance destroyed Diana's quality of life and ultimately contributed to her death. Today, the paparazzi industry has changed. Social media has democratized celebrity photography. Anyone with a phone can take a photo and sell it online. In some ways, this has made things worse. There are more photographers, more invasion, more constant surveillance. In other ways, it's reduced the value of individual photos, made the paparazzi profession less lucrative. But the fundamental dynamic remains. Famous people are treated as products. Their privacy is considered negotiable. Their suffering is considered the price of fame. Diana's legacy in relation to paparazzi culture is complicated. She used the media when it suited her, tipped off photographers about her location, posed for photos that she knew would send messages. Diana understood that media attention could be a weapon, a tool. She wasn't purely a victim, but she was also genuinely traumatized by the constant invasion. The two realities coexisted. Diana manipulated the media, and the media destroyed her. The question that haunts everyone is, could Diana's death have been prevented? If the paparazzi hadn't chased her that night, would she be alive? Probably. If Henry Poole hadn't been drunk, would the crash have been avoided? Probably. If Diana had worn a seatbelt, would she have survived? Possibly. There are so many factors, so many moments where a different choice could have changed everything. But the paparazzi chase was the precipitating event, the trigger. Without it, Diana would likely have reached Dodi's apartment safely, would have woken up the next morning, would still be alive. The photographers who chased Diana that night have never spoken publicly about what happened. They were cleared legally, but morally, ethically, they contributed to a situation that killed someone. They prioritized getting photos over human safety. They treated Diana's life as less important than their income. Some of those photographers are still working, still following celebrities, still taking photos. They learned nothing from Diana's death, or they learned that there are no real consequences. Publications that bought paparazzi photos of Diana have also largely escaped accountability. They created the market, set the prices, incentivized the aggressive behavior. But when Diana died, they acted shocked, horrified. How could this happen? They knew exactly how it could happen. They had been funding it for 16 years. Every aggressive chase, every invasion of privacy, every boundary violation, it was all in service of getting photos that publications would buy. Blood was on their hands too, but they washed it off quickly. The public bears some responsibility as well. We bought the magazines, clicked on the websites, consumed the photos. Our appetite for celebrity content fueled the entire industry. When we saw photos of Diana looking distressed, we didn't think about how those photos were obtained. We just looked, judged, consumed. Diana's suffering was our entertainment. Her life was our gossip. We can blame the photographers, blame the publications, but we created the demand. We're complicit too. Diana herself struggled with this dynamic. She hated the paparazzi, but she also understood she needed them. Public support was her only power against the royal family, and public support required public visibility. So Diana had to maintain a relationship with the media, had to give them access, had to keep them interested. But the line between strategic media use and dangerous harassment was constantly shifting, and Diana never found a sustainable balance. The media that made her famous killed her. 28 years after Diana's death, paparazzi culture continues. It's more sophisticated now. Drones, long-range cameras, social media tracking. But the fundamental violation remains the same. Famous people can't have private lives, can't move through the world without being documented, can't have human moments without them becoming content. And the justification is always the same. They're public figures. They chose fame. This comes with the territory. But no one chooses to be hunted. No one signs up to be prey. Some celebrities have found ways to coexist with paparazzi culture. They pose, they smile, they treat it as part of the job. Others fight constantly, sue, hide, avoid going out. There's no good solution, because the fundamental dynamic is broken. One person's privacy and humanity versus millions of people's curiosity and dozens of photographers' livelihoods. The individual always loses. Diana lost, and countless others have lost since. The lasting image of Diana's relationship with the paparazzi isn't from that final night in Paris. It's from years earlier. Diana leaving a gym in London, wearing workout clothes, looking directly at the camera with an expression that's hard to read. Exhaustion, resignation, defiance. All at once, she knows she's being photographed, knows there's nothing she can do about it, knows this will be in newspapers tomorrow. But she's going to live her life anyway, going to keep trying, keep fighting, keep existing despite the cameras. That determination, that refusal to disappear despite constant harassment, that was Diana's real courage. Not the charity work, not the royal duties, but simply continuing to live while being hunted every single day. From Diana's final interview given weeks before her death, the press have been both my best friend and my worst enemy. They've given me a voice, a platform, a way to reach people. But they've also destroyed my privacy, my peace, my sense of safety. I don't know how to escape them. I don't know if escape is even possible anymore. Sometimes I think they'll follow me to my grave, and then I laugh. Because of course they will. They'll photograph my funeral. They'll monetize my death the same way they monetized my life. That's the world we live in now, where a person's humanity is secondary to content, where someone's suffering is just another story. I don't know how to fix it. I just know I'm tired. So tired of running, so tired of hiding, so tired of feeling unsafe in my own life. Maybe one day things will change. Maybe after I'm gone, people will see how wrong this all was. But knowing doesn't fix anything. I'm still here, still being chased, still trying to survive. And I don't know how much longer I can keep doing this.